The 1 million pound thrust in the second stage raised the speed and altitude of Apollo 8 to 6,800 miles per hour, 106 miles above Earth. At 8 minutes 44 seconds into the flight, Mission Control in Houston, Texas, confirmed second stage shutdown and separation. The third stage was then ignited for the first time to place itself and the Apollo spacecraft, a 283,000-pound payload, into a planned 119-mile-high Earth parking orbit. During 2 revolutions of the Earth, the crew checked spacecraft and launch vehicle systems in preparation for reignition of the third stage and insertion into a lunar trajectory. A similar check was conducted at Mission Control. This was the first commit point in the flight. After careful evaluation of all systems in the space vehicle and of all ground tracking stations, Mission Control gave the go-ahead for translunar insertion.
Following you, and you're looking good here, right down the center line. Roger, following. Apollo 8 coming up on 20 seconds to ignition. Mark it, and you're looking very good. Roger. Ignition. Roger, ignition.
The third stage engine was reignited at 2 hours, 50 minutes, and 36 seconds into the flight. The engine burned for 5 minutes and 19 seconds, raising Apollo 8's speed to a velocity of 24,200 miles per hour, thrusting Apollo from Earth orbit toward the moon. For the first time, man had left his home planet to begin a translunar flight through space. The third stage had performed its function perfectly, and 20 minutes after translunar insertion, spacecraft separation occurred. Following a short period of station keeping, the spacecraft moved away in preparation for third stage fuel dump. The remaining liquid oxygen in the third stage was then released, which increased the velocity of the stage on a new trajectory. This eliminated the possibility of recontact with the spacecraft by placing the stage in a trajectory passing behind the moon and into solar orbit. At 6 hours and 33 minutes into the flight, the astronauts tested the S-band high-gain steerable antenna. Flown for the first time, this small 70-inch wide antenna was used for most of the two-way transmissions between the spacecraft and Mission Control. The small antenna performed better than predicted. In contrast, at 3 points on Earth, huge 85-foot antenna stations were used for all telemetry, voice communications, and TV transmissions up to lunar distances. Passive thermal control of the spacecraft was then initiated and maintained throughout the mission, except during periods of navigation sightings, photography, and television transmissions. Thermal control is vital to the success of distant manned space flight and involves rotating the spacecraft slowly so that excessive heat will not build up on the surface facing the sun. A short time later, the crew removed their pressure suits. They wore lightweight flight suits throughout the remainder of the mission. The first mid-course correction maneuver was initiated at 11 hours. A 2.4-second burn of the service propulsion engine increased the spacecraft velocity by 24.5 feet per second. The resulting trajectory was so accurate that the planned second and third maneuvers were not required. Command pilot Borman experienced some nausea at 19 hours. The 2 other crewmen also reported a feeling of queasiness. Following medication and a sleep period, all 3 men felt well and rested.
Okay, we're rolling around to a good view of the Earth, and as soon as we get to the good view of the Earth, we'll stop and let you look out the window at the scene we see. Jim Lovell's down in lower equipment bay preparing lunch, and Bill is holding a camera here for us both.
Throughout the translunar flight, the astronauts conducted star, Earth horizon, and lunar sightings to demonstrate the accuracy of onboard navigation and evaluate the optical subsystem for future deep space manned missions. For the first time, man took photographs of the receding Earth, as well as many of the approach to the moon. During the translunar flight, the Earth's gravitational pull gradually decreased Apollo 8's velocity to 2,170 miles per hour. Then, as lunar gravity overcame the Earth's diminishing pull, spacecraft velocity increased. As Apollo 8 neared the moon, another extensive evaluation of all systems was conducted by the crew and mission control. If no further maneuvers were made, the spacecraft would circle the moon and head back to Earth on a free return trajectory. However, mission control and the astronauts decided to commit for lunar orbit. On Christmas Eve, at 69 hours and 8 minutes, the service module propulsion system was fired to deboost the spacecraft into lunar orbit. The initial elliptical orbit was 69 by 193 miles above the lunar surface. After a complete systems check and confirmation from mission control, a second burn of the service propulsion system engine circularized the orbit to a planned 69 miles above the moon. For the first time, man looked upon the surface of the moon with his unaided eyes and saw greater detail than ever before.